In the opulent boardroom of Sterling Enterprises, the air was thick with tension as Elena Sterling, the iron-fisted CEO, froze mid-sentence. Her eyes widened in disbelief, locking onto the man standing beside her estranged father, the legendary billionaire Harlan Sterling. It was him, the single dad she just fired without a second thought. But how? Why? As the room spun, Elena realized her world was about to shatter. If this story of heartbreak, redemption, and unexpected twists hooks you right from the start, smash that like button and subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us karma always circles back. Now, let's dive into how it all began. Mark Thompson had always been the invisible backbone of Apex Logistics, a mid-sized shipping company in the bustling heart of Chicago. For 9 grueling years, he'd clocked in at dawn, managing the warehouse floor with a quiet efficiency that kept the gears turning smoothly. At 38, with calloused hands and a perpetual shadow of fatigue under his eyes, Mark wasn't just an employee, he was a survivor. Widowed at 29 when his wife, Lisa, succumbed to a rare cancer, he'd been left to raise their daughter, Emily, alone. Emily was his world, a bright-eyed 12-year-old now, with her mother's curly hair and infectious laugh. But life as a single dad meant sacrifices. Endless shifts, skipped meals, and nights where he'd collapse on the couch, too exhausted to even dream. Mark's days blurred into a monotonous rhythm: wake up at 4 a.m., pack Emily's lunch, drop her at school, then head to the warehouse. There, under the fluorescent lights, he'd load trucks, oversee inventory, and handle the complaints from drivers who were always running late. His boss, Karen Mitchell, was a no-nonsense woman in her mid-40s, promoted to manager 3 years ago. She ruled with an efficiency that bordered on ruthlessness, her mantra being, "The job comes first." Mark had never missed a day, never complained about overtime. He'd covered for sick colleagues, worked through holidays, even plowed through a bout of pneumonia without calling out. Loyalty was his currency, but it bought him little in return, just a modest paycheck that barely covered rent, Emily's dance classes, and the mounting medical bills from Lisa's final days that still haunted him. As Emily's 13th birthday approached, Mark felt a rare spark of excitement. She'd been begging for a simple family outing, a picnic at Millennium Park, maybe catch a show at the theater. It was the first time in years he'd considered taking a day off. "Dad, please," Emily had pleaded one evening, her eyes shining as she showed him a flyer for a free outdoor concert. "Just one day. We never do anything fun anymore." Her words pierced him like a knife. He remembered the promises he'd made to Lisa on her deathbed, to give Emily a life full of joy, not just survival. Swallowing his pride, Mark decided to ask. The next morning, he approached Karen's office, his heart pounding. The room was stark, filled with stacks of paperwork and a perpetual scent of stale coffee. "Karen, I need to talk," he said, his voice steady but laced with vulnerability. She glanced up from her computer, her sharp features tightening. "Make it quick, Thompson. We're behind on shipments." He explained about Emily's birthday, the 9 years of perfect attendance, and how one day, just Friday, would mean the world. Karen leaned back, her expression unchanging. "Mark, you know the policy. We're short-staffed. If I let you off, everyone will want special treatment." He pressed on, sharing a bit about his life as a single dad, the loneliness, the exhaustion. For a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of empathy in her eyes. But it vanished. "I'm sorry, but no. And if you call out, consider this your warning." Defeated, Mark nodded and returned to work, the weight on his shoulders heavier than any crate he'd lifted. That night, as he tucked Emily in, she sensed his disappointment. "It's okay, Dad. We can celebrate on the weekend." But Mark couldn't let it go. Friday came, and for the first time, he called in. "Family emergency," he lied, his voice cracking. He took Emily to the park, where they laughed over sandwiches, danced to street musicians, and watched the sun set over the city skyline. It was a perfect day, a stolen moment of normalcy. Emily's hug at the end, best birthday ever, Dad, made it worth any consequence. Monday morning brought the storm. Karen summoned him immediately. You disobeyed a direct order, she snapped, sliding a termination paper across the desk. After 9 years? For one day? Mark protested, his voice rising in rare anger. I've given everything to this company. My daughter needed me. Karen's face hardened. Business is business. Clean out your locker. Stunned, Mark gathered his things, a worn photo of Lisa and Emily, a spare jacket, and walked out into the cold Chicago wind. Unemployment loomed like a dark cloud. How would he pay the bills? Feed Emily? The fear gnawed at him, but so did a quiet resolve. He'd find a way, he always had. Weeks turned into a blur of job applications and rejections. Mark picked up odd jobs, delivering groceries, fixing neighbors' appliances, but it wasn't enough. Emily noticed the strain, her once bright demeanor dimming. Dad, are you okay? She'd ask, and he'd force a smile. Always, kiddo. One evening, as he scrolled through LinkedIn, an unexpected message popped up. It was from Harlan Sterling, the reclusive billionaire founder of Sterling Enterprises, a global conglomerate worth billions. Mr. Thompson, I'd like to meet. I hear you're a man of integrity. Confused, Mark replied, and a meeting was set at a upscale cafe downtown. Harlan was nothing like the tabloid tycoon, silver-haired, with kind eyes and a warm handshake. At 72, he carried the aura of someone who'd built an empire from nothing. How do you know me? Mark asked, sipping coffee. Harlan smiled. Through my daughter, actually. Elena runs one of my subsidiaries. Mark's brow furrowed. Elena Sterling? He'd never met her. Harlan explained, Apex Logistics was a small acquisition under Sterling's umbrella, and Elena oversaw operations remotely. But that wasn't why they were meeting. I'm looking for someone trustworthy for a personal project, Harlan said. My health is failing, heart issues. I need help organizing my estate, someone who understands hard work and family. Mark was floored. Why him? Harlan leaned in. I did my research. Your dedication at Apex, raising your daughter alone, it reminds me of my own struggles before the wealth. As they talked, Mark opened up about his firing. Harlan's face darkened. Fired for a day off? Unacceptable. But he didn't pry further. Instead, he offered Mark a job, not in the corporation, but as his personal assistant, with a salary that made Mark's eyes water. Flexible hours, time for your girl, Harlan added. Grateful beyond words, Mark accepted. Over the next months, their bond deepened. Harlan became a grandfather figure to Emily, spoiling her with books and outings. Mark learned about Harlan's regrets, estranged from Elena after a bitter divorce from her mother, focusing too much on business. Don't make my mistakes, Harlan advised. Family first. The climax unfolded at Sterling's annual board meeting. Harlan, feeling stronger, decided to attend unannounced, bringing Mark along as his right-hand man. The room buzzed with executives, Elena at the head, presenting quarterly figures. When Harlan entered, gasps echoed. Father? Elena stammered, rising. Her eyes shifted to Mark, recognition dawning. You're the warehouse guy from Apex. Harlan's voice boomed. The one your manager fired on your orders? Yes. Elena paled. She'd approved the termination policy, emphasizing zero tolerance. Now, facing her father, who praised Mark as the son I never had, she froze. The board watched in stunned silence. In the private confrontation that followed, emotions erupted. Elena defended her decisions. I built this company your way, ruthless efficiency. Harlan shook his head. But at what cost? I lost you because of that. Mark taught me there's more to life. Tears welled in Elena's eyes as Mark shared his story, the widowhood, the birthday, the desperation. For the first time, Elena saw beyond spreadsheets, a human cost to her ambition. I'm sorry, she whispered. Harlan mediated, urging reconciliation. By meeting's end, Elena reinstated Mark with a promotion, implementing family-friendly policies company-wide. More importantly, she reached out to her father, mending their rift over dinners where Emily's laughter filled the gaps. Mark's life transformed. With stability, he watched Emily thrive, even starting a small charity for single parents. Harlan passed peacefully a year later, leaving Mark a modest inheritance and Elena a renewed family bond. The inspiring message? In a world that demands everything, one act of courage, for family, for yourself, can rewrite your story. Kindness and empathy turn strangers into allies, and sometimes, the universe delivers justice in the most unexpected ways. As we wrap this tale, remember, life's twists can lead to triumphs. If Mark's journey moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories that uplift and inspire. What's your takeaway? Share in the comments below.